Oh, right, you want to get comfy for this one. It's going to be a long one. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for clicking onto this video. It means so much that you are interested in endometriosis or hearing my story. That is exactly what this video is going to be. I'm just going to be telling you my story and my experience with endometriosis. I feel like it's important for me to say I am not a medical professional. I am no one but a girl that has been diagnosed with endometriosis a few years ago, and I just want to share my experience to help raise awareness for this awful condition. I can't work out if I need to zoom you in a bit. Should I bring you in a bit? Let's get close and personal. Oh, is that a bit weird? So my symptoms started when I was 13, which is when I started my periods. I can really distinctly remember my mum sitting on the side of my bed and me just rocking back and forth in absolute agony because my periods were just so painful from the get-go. And let me just say this before I go into anything else: if your periods are unbearably painful, that is not normal. No matter what you've been told, if a doctor's just, you know, dismissed you and been like, oh, you're fine, just take a paracetamol. If you can't manage on a paracetamol alone, that's not normal. If your periods are stopping you from going to work, doing daily activities, living your life as normal, that is not normal. And I wanted to stress that at the very start of this video because I feel like a lot of us are invalidated for our pain, or we're told, you know, here's some painkillers or here's some contraception, which I'm going to go into that. It's not necessarily always a bad thing, but you shouldn't just be given those things and the pain not be investigated, you know? So yeah, I'm 13 having awful periods, and it's when I get to like 15-ish, I'm like, okay, I want to go on the pill. So I was with Andre when I was 15. We weren't having sex then. I knew I was approaching 16 when those kind of things might start happening. Sorry to my family if you're watching this, but you know, it's all educational. I thought the pill might also help my periods because my periods were really heavy and, as I said, really painful. I also struggled a lot with like UTIs and UTI symptoms, which I now know can be because of endo being on your bladder. It makes you feel like you've got a UTI when you don't necessarily do. I mean, I did have UTIs that I tested positive for them, but sometimes I was going to the doctors feeling like I've got an awful UTI and they'd test me for it and I wouldn't have it, which I now know is a symptom of endometriosis. I feel like I'm waffling on so much already, but anyway, I'm 15, I go on the microgynon pill. That's a whole other story for a whole different kind of day, but it did actually help the pain of my periods. The pain did reduce a lot when I was on microgynon, like I can't deny that. I have so much to say about microgynon. If you haven't seen the pill documentary by Davina McCall, it's kind of all spoken about on there. I'm actually in that, but yeah, if you haven't seen that, go and watch that because it talks about the pill a lot. So then I get to uni, I'm still on microgynon and it's first year, and quite a lot of us are on microgynon, like the girls that I met, and all of us have these same symptoms where our mood swings are insane, our mental health probably wasn't the best, and generally we just weren't feeling great on the pill. We didn't really know who we were. A lot of us got put on it like 4 or 5 years before that, and obviously you go through a lot of changes in those years, so I decided to change my pill. During this time my mental health is up and down like a roller coaster. Andre and I were in a long distance relationship, which is difficult. I didn't really enjoy the whole uni experience massively. I mean, there were parts of it that I loved and some of it I really didn't enjoy. After trying around 3 or 4 pills, I think, in second year, I was like, I don't know who I am. I feel really depressed. I'm coming off the pill completely. This is when things started to really kick in for my endometriosis. Still at this point, I had no idea that I had it, but I can really distinctly remember being sat on the toilet in my house in second year, and it was in like a little alcove, kind of like the walls were really close and then the bath was the other side of that wall. And I just remember trying to grip onto each side of the wall and being like, oh my god, this can't be normal. Like, I was shaking. I was like, if you've experienced awful period cramps and pain, you know how bad it is. It is excruciating, and I was literally in shock. I was like, this was like one of my first few periods after coming off the pill, and I was like, this cannot be real. Like, this cannot be happening. Like, it was awful. So the summer between second and third year of uni, I was working at dog kennels, and there was a couple of times where I'd come on my period, gone to work, and then like been in excruciating pain, and I was just like, I don't understand what's happening to me. Like, I've always been able to cope with my periods when I was on the pill. I literally just didn't understand. So after being sent home from work like 2 or 3 times, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I need to go to the doctor. At that point, I'd heard of endometriosis because one of my friends, Lucy, who I went to school with, actually had it. So endo was definitely on my radar, but as a lot of you will know, there isn't a lot of talk. Well, definitely back then, we're talking 5 or 6 years ago, there wasn't a lot of talk about it. So like, I kind of thought I might have it, but that felt like the worst case scenario, like a really awful condition. Like, I couldn't believe that I could possibly have that kind of thing because I had no idea how common it was. When I went to the GP, it wasn't the best experience. I did bring up endometriosis and he said it's very unlikely. Given my age, I mean, I was about 19, 20 at this point, so very, very possible to have endometriosis. But he suggested that I try some painkillers, which were, oh, what are they called now? Methylemic acid? I'm going to write the name of it somewhere because I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but it's something along those lines, like methylfolinic acid. So I had those and I was told to take them as soon as I start to feel my period pain come on, or the first day I'm expecting my period, and take them 3 times a day until my period stopped. I tried that, and to be honest, they did help the pain, but the side effects I found really rough, especially when I've been taking them more regularly. I was finding myself getting really quite nauseous, but I just kind of powered through because I kind of figured that was all my option was. I didn't want to go back on the pill because it made my mental health worse, and the doctors had given me these painkillers, which I thought, you know, that's it, that's all I can do, so we'll just go with that. I've been filming for so long and I feel like I'm only just like getting to my story, so this is going to be a really long video. I'm so sorry. So now we're gonna like fast forward really quickly a few years, because I didn't seek any more help after this. I was struggling every single month with my period. It was unbearable. So I did 3rd year of uni, and it was so painful every single month. I'd absolutely dread my period. I wasn't going into uni a lot anyway because I didn't have many contact hours, which helped, but I just spent so much time in bed, and my periods were just awful. Like I literally just used to dread them every single month. Once I finished uni, I moved back home for a few months, worked my job at the kennels, and then I moved to London a few months after that. I got a job in London, and again, every single month I was having to go to the toilet to be sick. I was going to the toilet to take extra strong painkillers because I was embarrassed I was having to take them on my desk, leaving work because my pain was so bad. Like, it was awful. And every month I'd text Andre, my mum, and Danielle, and all three of them would be like, look, you need to do something about this, like this is getting silly. Like, it's every single month. And then once my period had finished and my pain had kind of subsided a bit, I was like, oh, it's fine, like I'm not going to go to the doctors, like they're not going to be able to help me. Or I was so petrified of having the diagnosis of endometriosis, and the idea of not being able to have children or having to have surgery absolutely petrified me, to the point where I was like, it's better to have this pain than to try and seek help. This has just taken me so long to figure out because I could not work out when I moved into different places. So moved to London in 2019, and then moved into the house with Andre and 3 friends in 2020. Having moved to London, I changed my GP from the one I'd seen initially when I was like 19ish, that put me on the methylfolinic acid. Is that what it is? I can't remember. That had put me on that. I changed to a GP in London, and I'd already gone to them for my mental health because I was on antidepressants by this point, and I knew they were quite a helpful GP. So I was like, right, I'm gonna try this again. I need help for my periods, like I can't do this anymore. I can't remember the exact timings of it, but anyway, I have a telephone appointment with a doctor, and I'm like, help me, my periods definitely aren't normal, the pain is excruciating, it's affected my mental health, I don't know what to do, blah 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 blah. I count my blessings every single day that this GP was absolutely incredible and validated me in a way that I'd never ever felt before about anything. She said, it absolutely doesn't sound normal, I'm so sorry you've been going through this, which is literally just like the nicest thing to hear, like someone to just get it. She said, have you tried contraceptions to help with the pain? And I was like, I have tried the pill in previous years and it's not something I really want to try again. She was like, what about the Mirena coil? Because if it is endometriosis that you have, the coil is often a really helpful treatment, so how would you feel about trying it? And I was like, at this point, put anything in me to stop the pain, like I will try anything. So I had to wait quite a while to be able to get the coil because it was so busy, and it was still COVID time, so it was hard to get an appointment. But in March 2021 is when I got my Mirena coil fitted, and I was also on a wait list for a ultrasound. I think I ended up having a cancellation ultrasound like 3 days after I got my coil. This was an internal ultrasound, so they use a probe and go into your vagina to like examine your ovaries, your uterus, everything like that, to see if there's any indications of endo. When I had that done, the nurse that was actually doing it like told me that my ovaries were really stiff, which can indicate that like they're supposed to be able to rotate or something. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but she basically said to me that they are completely stuck, which can indicate that there's either cysts, adhesions, endo, anything like that can be like stuck around them, which are preventing them from moving. This honestly gave me quite a bit of relief because I know how rare it is for endo or cysts or anything to be found on an ultrasound. Just because you have a clear ultrasound doesn't mean that you don't have endo, like they don't necessarily go hand in hand. It's so hard to get the imaging. If you have kind of surface endo or even deeply infiltrated endo, depending on where it is, it's not always going to show up on a scan. But anyway, she sent the imaging off to St Guy's and Thomas's Hospital, which is where I was having my care, and they advised me there to wait between 3 and 6 months to see if the Mirena coil helped me, because they want to use surgery as a last resort, although it is something that is a diagnostic tool, as in you're not going to know that you definitely have endo until you have that surgery. They really tried to put off doing surgery for so many reasons, but as well, it is a massive toll on your body. Like, I've had one surgery and I'm really putting off having the second one because it is such a huge thing for your body to go through. So that all happened in like March 2021. Then we get to like June, so April, May, June. Yeah, it was about 3 or maybe July that I had a follow-up appointment. Honestly, this time is such a blur to me because I was struggling with my mental health so bad. The pain was excruciating. I was in bed like 2 weeks of the month. Like, it was just horrible, and not knowing what was what, it was just so bad. Like, I didn't really have much of a life. I never left the house. I was so like, I just felt horrible. Like, the pain was getting more and more, and at that point the coil wasn't helping. I was still having my periods super regularly, and that was when I had another internal examination. I think that was with the surgeon, actually. I can't really remember. As I say, this time is such a blur, and I can't remember if he did another ultrasound on me or if he just did like an internal examination, but he confirmed the same kind of things, that my ovaries looked quite compromised and he was a bit concerned about them. So it was at that appointment that he was like, okay, we're going to refer you for a laparoscopy. I was buzzing because I felt like that was my only option at that point. As I say, I was really quite depressed, and it was just horrible. Like, it was just not a nice time at all. Like, I really look back on that time with a lot of sadness because, as a lot of you will know if you're watching this, if you struggle with endo, like, it can completely take over your life, and it had at that point. Like, it was just awful. And as well, I didn't know that I had endometriosis. Like, it had been brought up, and you know, I had all of the symptoms, but until you have that surgery, you don't know what's going on, and that's a really scary thing. When you've got stuff going on inside your body and you don't know what it is, that's really terrifying. So I get put on the wait list for surgery. I'm not told how long the wait list is. I think they said around 8 months to 12 months, but what I did was rang the reception and said I was available for cancellation appointments. Like, I wasn't working at this point. I was just doing like TikTok and stuff, so I had that freedom to be able to say literally fit me in whenever. It got to a point at around the 2.5, 3 month point of being on the wait list, I was in daily pain, like screaming at the top of my lungs, crying, like doubled over. Like, I would be stood up fine and then I'd be collapsed on the floor. Like, it was so bad. It was then when I was ringing up like pretty much every week to say, please get me in. Like, I feel so bad for these receptionists because it's not their fault. I was literally crying down the phone, like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this mentally. Like, it's making me really not in a good place. I don't really know how to say the words out loud, but I was really struggling at that point. Then finally, one of the times that I rang, she put me on hold for about 20 minutes, and then when she came back on the phone, she was like, we've got a slot in 6 days, we've had a cancellation, can you do it? I was like, oh my god, yes. Like, oh my god, like, this is actually happening. And I was at my mum's when I got that call, and I just cried my eyes out because I was like, I'm actually having surgery. Like, this is real, it's happening. I'm gonna find out whatever the hell is going on, because the thing is, I just thought at that point, even if it's not endometriosis and it's something worse or different, I'm gonna know, and that is all I need at this point, because what the hell is going on inside me? In October 21, I had my very first laparoscopy, and it was confirmed that I have stage 3 endometriosis. So a laparoscopy is keyhole surgery where they do incisions, they put a camera in, and then they go in and they can either burn away the endo, which is called ablation, or they can rip it out of the root. That sounds disgusting, but that's called excision surgery, and that is considered like the best gold standard of endometriosis surgery. They found endo really widely spread across my pelvis, which, you know, was really hard to hear, but at the same time, I kind of knew it was going to be like that anyway. Like, that's exactly how it felt to me. Some of my endo was superficial, which means it's just kind of on the surface, but some of it was really deeply infiltrated. Actually, something that I wanted to say is the stage of endo that you're diagnosed with doesn't correlate to any pain. Some people can have stage 4 endo and not know they have it, and some people have stage 1 endo and it is completely unbearable. It literally depends on so many different factors as to whether you feel pain or not, whether it affects you. So, you know, if you have surgery and you're diagnosed with stage 1, that doesn't mean that your pain is any less than someone that's got stage 4, so just don't worry about that. From what I understand of it, the stage literally just reflects how deeply infiltrated it is. It's nothing to do with the pain scale. My surgery was in the afternoon. I got there at about 10 AM I think, and I had to wait until about 4 PM for my surgery. It ended up being quite long. I think I was in theatre for about 3 hours. Again, this is really a blur, and obviously I'm not going to remember it that well because I was put under, but yeah, I think it was about 3 hours. I ended up having to stay overnight. I don't know if that was because of the timings of it and I'd had surgery like basically in the evening, or if it was because of complications. I didn't have complications, but they had to keep my catheter in because of the endo removed on my bladder, and stuff like that. So yeah, I ended up having to stay overnight. I really would recommend it if you're going for a laparoscopy to pack an overnight bag just in case. I was so grateful to have things like my dressing gown, Lucozade Sports, like just home comforts that just made it feel a little bit better, because obviously you're in hospital on your own and it's a bit sad. The next day in the morning I had to do like 2 wees, I think, but on my own, like with the catheter removed, before I was able to go home. So I ended up going home at about 4 p.m. I think I'm going to do a whole separate video on preparing for surgery, what I'd recommend, the recovery and stuff, because there's just so much to say about a laparoscopy. Like, I wouldn't be able to do it justice in this video. But yeah, I had the surgery, it was confirmed I had endo. They showed me images of it and it was everywhere, and it's really disgusting. It's like little black like dots, like there'll just be like a little crevice. Like, I had loads on my pouch of Douglas. I have no idea what that is or where it even is in my body, but my pouch of Douglas was literally like covered in endo, and they were showing me the picture. I was like, that's disgusting. Like, it's so gross. So I guess the next thing is to kind of tell you where I'm at now, because that was my surgery in 2021 and we are here. So currently I still have the Marina coil, and do you know what, I actually love the Marina coil. It nearly stopped my periods, but it didn't completely stop them. So I wasn't having a bleed as such. I'd have like a really faint bleed, like barely anything, but because I was still having that, it meant that I was still ovulating, so I was still getting ovulation pain and I was still getting period pain, endo pain. But as a contraceptive and as everything else, I think the Marina coil is the best contraceptive out there. A lot of people are frightened for getting it put in or getting it taken out. You know, it's not the best experience. It's not like super comfortable. I mean, you've got someone in a intimate area of your body, so it's not the best, but for the 10 minutes of that appointment versus the 5 year of kind of cover it gives you, and the way it can limit your period. Some people have no periods on them as well, so it can be amazing. I love it. Since surgery, my symptoms have been slowly getting worse and worse, which is common. Sadly, if you didn't know, there is no cure for endometriosis, because it can just grow back. So basically what we have to do is just find a way to manage and reduce our symptoms in a way that makes everyday life livable. So earlier this year, I think I've been on it about 5 months, my endo specialist called Claudia, she's at St. Thomas's, no, she's at St. Guy's. She is incredible. Like, I don't know how I would still be continuing to fight my battle with endo without her. She is genuinely incredible. Not that she'd ever watch this, but Claudia, I bloody love you. So she recommended to stop this kind of cyclable pain, this pain that's happening in cycles, because I'm still having a period and ovulating. I needed to go on the combined pill. I was extremely apprehensive to do this. Actually, last year I tried the mini pill with Cerazette, and within 8 weeks I felt like a big cloud of depression was just coming back over my head. So that was a no-go, and that was only last year. So when she was like, we need to try the pill, I was like, okay. But my other options that I've been I've missed out so much, because last year in October I had nerve block injections. I've actually already got 2 videos on my channel about, that sounded so weird, 2 videos on my channel. I've got 2 videos on there already about the nerve block injection, so I guess I'm not really going to go into that. But basically they only helped for about 6 weeks and then the pain came back. So yeah, I had the nerve block injections, tried the Cerazette pill, wasn't working for me. I'm on the combined pill, haven't had any side effects other than my boobs. My boobs are growing at a rate that I cannot keep up with. I mean, you can't see right now because they're lower than the camera, but they are growing at a rapid speed. But mentally, I've had no side effects from this pill, which I'm really grateful for. It's called Eloine. I'll put it on screen. It's E-L-O-I-N-E. So it really has helped in terms of I'm not having regular cyclable, what is that word, like I'm not having pain in cycles, which is exactly what we wanted to eliminate. So day to day it has really helped with my pain. I mean, I am still getting pain and I'm almost finding it more difficult because it's completely random. Before, when I was having periods or it was in a cycle, I was tracking it, so I could say on X day I was having this pain, and then I knew 2 weeks after that I'd most likely get another pain, whether that was supposed to be my period or my ovulation, and it was so much easier to track. Whereas now I just get pain on random days and would just get random triggers, and it's just like, but I have to be fair, like I have had a few times where I've been like on the floor like crying, screaming, like it's so painful, I can't deal with it, but it's so much less than it was. And I think the combination of the pill and the coil is definitely helping with that, because as I say, it is taking out that cycle. So yeah, I guess that kind of leaves us with where we are now. I have those 2 methods of contraception, I'm taking pain relief as and when I need it, whether that be naproxen. That is something I'm prescribed. I get asked that a lot. I love naproxen. I think it's really great. You do have to be careful though when you're taking it alongside something like citalopram, which I take for my mental health. You always need to make sure you're taking it with food. As like any anti-inflammatory, like an ibuprofen or something, you need to make sure you're taking it with food because it can be really damaging on your stomach, or you're taking omeprazole with it. So yeah, I take that. I've got my BU patches. If you haven't seen me slam on about these, is this really bright? I've just realised. Go on about BU patches. I talk about them all the time on my Instagram, my TikTok. They are my saviour. I've literally got one on right now. They're great. I use my TENS machine all the time, a heat pad. I've gone off hot water bottles because I had one split on me and it was really scary. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm just kind of managing day to day. My main concern right now is that I'm getting married in a year and I have no idea what this next year is going to look like in terms of pain and endo. The thought of being in pain on my wedding day is terrifying. Like really, it actually makes me emotional, because if endo spoils that, I can't talk about that because it makes me really emotional. So my next appointment with Claudia, the endo specialist, I'm going to discuss that and ask her whether she thinks I should have surgery before then. My endo is definitely more manageable now than it was 2 years ago, like completely different, like worlds apart. But I just still feel like I'm dealing with too much. Like it still just feels like a lot. Like I'm still having pain like maybe 7 to 10 days a month, which, you know, is so much better. It's not every day, or if it is regular and I'm getting it several days in a row, it's not all day anymore. Before I'd be written off, like I couldn't move from bed. Like if I tried to get up, I would literally be floored from pain. Now it's not like that. It's like I'll get like a couple of hours of pain, I'll take some painkillers and I can go about my day, which is like literally worlds apart. But yeah, I think I'm gonna round this video off now because I just wanted this video to be kind of my story, and I wanted to get this up on my channel because every Wednesday on my Instagram I do an endo DM clinic, so you can DM me any questions or any concerns you've got about endo. Wait, I forgot to tell you, I just missed a whole part of my story. So earlier this year, because my pain has been getting increasingly worse since surgery, I had an MRI and I had a sigmoidoscopy to check that my endo hadn't infiltrated into my intestine, because I've been having trouble with bladder and bowel issues. Like it's a whole thing. But anyway, I had my MRI and that came back with that my endo has definitely grown back, and there are some active sites of it. There are some sites where it hasn't grown back, which is obviously really good news, but it's back on my like bladder, bowel, kind of generally like it was for the first time, where it's quite widespread across my pelvis. What scares me that it was picked up on an MRI is, I don't know this for definite, but it kind of, because it is really hard for it to get picked up on these scans, if it does get picked up, I worry that it's worse. I've been trying not to tell myself that, but you know, it's one of those things. I've also been diagnosed now with fibrosis. I've got fibroids inside my uterus and outside. I don't really know loads about fibroids, so it's something I'm still learning about. But yeah, so that MRI, I can't even remember when that was. It was earlier this year, quite a while ago now. Yeah, just confirmed that kind of things are growing back in a line with the endo that was confirmed in 2021 anyway. My Claudia wasn't massively concerned. You know, she was like, it's to be expected, it's gonna kind of grow back. Yeah, I wanted to do this video as kind of a story of my story and just put it out there for awareness, for also people to come to. I get questions all the time about my diagnosis story, and this is like a really easy way for me to just send you here and you can learn all about it. I have like a 3-page thing that I wanted to cover, and I've literally covered these lines where I thought I was going to be able to talk about all about like Q&As that I've got about like private and NHS, go into detail about pain relief and surgery and stuff, but I think all of that kind of deserves its own time and I'll just be squeezing it into this video. So let me know videos that you want to see specifically about endometriosis. I have loads of ideas already, but I really just want to make sure that I'm using my platform in the best way possible to get awareness out there. So yeah, I guess that's it from me. I hope you're well. If you struggle with endo, I'm sending you the biggest hug, or if you struggle with the symptoms of endo and you're trying to be diagnosed, sending you the biggest virtual hug. If there's anything I can do to help, I really am trying to push the kind of endo side of my platform out there. As I said, Wednesdays I am in my DMs all day. Today is actually Wednesday, so I'm getting this video filmed and then I'm gonna spend all day in my Instagram DMs. Yeah, if there's anything I can do, please send me a DM. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.